It's almost that time, right? It's fun. A little preseason NFL. All the good things.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of the lack of depth? Obviously, you've got a strong starting three, but after that, there's not a lot of experience.
Not a lot of experience, but I think in practice they're starting to show that it's about trust. I think that's one of the things we talked about when I first got here with the last group, is establishing trust every day in practice. And I think those guys are doing that, allowing them to get an opportunity to play in games and spell some of these guys when they can.
What has allowed Connor Soley to kind of separate himself from the other options that you had for that third starting linebacker spot?
Well, I think with Connor, just been about just growing as an individual. I think his maturity has been really good. We asked him to do things, and we asked him to stay places and not chase the ball and stay on the backside. And that's hard at times for some people, but I think once the discipline is established, it allows you to play. And I tell them, sometimes making your play is being where you're supposed to be. So that's what we try to preach up for us in our room.
How good is it, do you feel like, for him to, be paired with his brother and Kyle, obviously?
I'm excited for him, man. That's pretty cool. I've never had that situation, so I'm looking forward to see how that panned out, how Big Bro's going to do when he does mess up, right, gets on his head. But I think it's been great so far, and I think the best thing is the two oldest guys have been great leaders. And I think that showed in them being captains. So I'm excited and I'm happy for those guys.
And how do you think that leadership helps with the newcomers, with your group?
Well, I think overall, leadership for us is not always about being vocal. It's about how you carry yourself. I think those guys have done a great job of carrying themselves. So I'm excited for them again, just not only as football guys, but just as men. I think I have a really, really good room, and I'm blessed to have those guys.
How about the shape? Merlin looks like he's in the best shape that he's come in there. What have you seen from him?
Like I said, it's a mindset. Every day it's a mindset. I think when you're trying to achieve great things, I think you see Butler's doing great, some great things in the NFL, so we're excited about him and constantly talking about him. And that's what we're trying to make that room. We're trying to make the room where it's a place you come and you have an opportunity to learn some great things, but excel and go to the NFL and also graduate.
A lot of the defensive backs have talked about how nice it is to have the continuity up in front of them. How have you seen those two position groups meshing over the course of camp?
Communication is everything. I think we always talk about that. Communications amongst the coaches, so I make sure I try to communicate with Coach Fletcher as much as possible on what we can do to help or where we might be lacking. Again, it's a team game, so as long as we're all on the same page, we'll be okay.
In terms of the depth you have behind, or obviously it's McCullough, Shaper, and then Junkum as well, what have you seen from those guys that really stands out?
Well, I think you try to find a role for your players, and you got to understand how many plays they can play, what's the max, what pushes them. They've also done a great job of being core guys on special teams, and we take great pride in that in our room. So if you're not starting, you need to be a core guy on special teams, and I think those guys have established themselves as that. And Connor as well, just last year being the MVP, hopefully he can come back and do it and get some stuff in Pac-12 as well on our defense.
Is it daunting at all? Do you feel like not having more options? Is that something that you sort of talked to them about, like honing in on, hey, you guys are kind of all we got? And that's
No, I think we've always thought like that. I mean, even last year, you look at the Arizona game, Butler and Merlin was out that game, and at the time you had Gentry and Connor play. So it's next man up. Can't be afraid to play. That's why you coach everybody in the room, right? That's my job, is to coach everybody in the room and create confidence for them so that when their number is called, that they're ready to play, but also know how far to push them and when to pull back.
It seemed like James had some strides to make when he first arrived here, coming from where he came from. How have you seen him sort of grow in terms of the technique, tackling technique, anything like that?
I think he's done a great job. I mean, our defense is not easy. It's an NFL caliber defense, and some of the things it takes to do it, I think he's done a good job adjusting to that. His game is very, very powerful, right? And I think we're finding a role for him, right? So I think we found that, and we're just going to try to maximize that and make sure that we get the best out of him as possible. And again, he's also a guy that contributes in special teams, so it's great to have that as well.
It's like his aggressiveness can really help him be.
Aggressiveness, power, his speed. I mean, he's a good football player, and it's worked out well for us. Sweet.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go.
Thanks.